All right, welcome back to Buffalo Plus. Dan Fates, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Before we get started breaking down practice, please be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. All right, Mike, we're here in Orchard Park. Practice today outside.
Did you just call me Mike?
Oh my God, I did. No, let's keep it going. You're basically Mike. You're a Mike Jr. All right, Dan. Practice is outside. Bill's getting ready for the Bears.
I thought you were just skating by the fact you called me Mike.
You're essentially Mike. You guys both talk enough to be one another. You have more hair though.
Just go
Sorry,
on.
Mike.
Just go on. Keep it going, Jenna.
All right. Practice today, outside. Bill's
Yes.
getting ready. We know it's going to be cold in Chicago.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold. I don't have another female name. We don't know. You're the only woman that works for Buffalo Plus. I was gonna call you some different name. Yeah, it was. I think it was a balmy 23 degrees.
You missed your
probably.
shot.
I know, but it's gonna be much different in Chicago. Windy,
Yeah.
cold. It's expected to be about -10 to -20 with the wind chill. It will be an interesting comparison that they've been making is to the Patriots game last year, the windy game, and how the offense can function in those conditions. Ken Dorsey talked about it earlier this week, the fact of they went in with a game plan in that New England game that they were going to run the ball, and then they found out that Josh could throw it through the wind.
Yeah.
And so they kind of had to change mid-game. So I think that's something that, you talk about what this team has learned over the years. I think this is one of them.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think they had that experience last year. That is so huge now moving forward. I mean, you talked about it. Ken Dorsey has talked about it. We even got to talk to the players today. I love this from Jordan Poyer. He's like, it's a mindset. You have to be prepared. You obviously physically get prepared. Some guys will wear wetsuits under their uniforms. They'll have long sleeves. But he's like, you mentally just need to know that it's going to be very cold. There's nothing you can do about it. And he says that way you're not surprised when you do get out there. And I know that might sound silly to some, but I absolutely think that that factors in. You have to have that mental edge of being like, yeah, this is not going to be fun. And I love Stephon Diggs saying this. He's like, nobody likes playing in that cold, but it's a part of the game.
Yeah, and I think Tremaine Edmonds talks about how, it's going to be cold. Like, what are we going to do? Complain about it? And he was asked about if there's one thing that sucks the most about playing in cold weather that you hate doing as a defender. And he said he takes pride in all of it. That, when you think of football, you think of this cold weather game. And I joked around about it because the Chicago Bears have always called it bear weather, and that you're not allowed to wear, at least the offensive linemen have never been allowed to wear sleeves because that's part of it. So I asked Tremaine, where's that fine line between stupidity and toughness? And he said, personal preference. So
He really, he towed the line there.
Yeah.
I would agree. I will say, when you were asking the question to Tremaine about what is something that makes it much more challenging in the cold weather, my head, I was like, tackling. Like,
but he's not going to say it.
No, obviously he's not going to say that. But we know the Bills have kind of struggled with some of the tackling, and it's huge this upcoming week.
Yeah.
Once again, because Justin Fields, the Bears quarterback,
Nice
he
transition.
is so talented. Thank you. That's where I was going. But he is so talented. He can throw, but he can run, and it's huge for this Bills team because how fast he is and how many rushing yards he's already had.
He's big and he's fast. He's not as tall as Josh Allen, but he is 6'3", 6'4", and he already has over 1,000 rushing yards on the season. He is dynamic. He is becoming that guy, and I thought it was interesting. Sean McDermott goes, I don't like to compare players to one another. He never does.
Never.
But he's the one that brought up the comparison to when he was around in Carolina and Cam Newton was coming up.
Yeah.
And again, Cam Newton was thought of as an okay passer. He was he was, a average NFL passer, but his running is what made him dynamic. And Justin Fields is every bit of that. Not quite Mike Vick 2.0, but he is a guy that is having a ton of 30-plus yard runs. That plays that seem like they're dead are not dead. And when defenders think they got him bottled up, they don't. So Sean addressed that he's a bigger threat in the red zone and on third downs, where the Bills have struggled.
The Bills have absolutely struggled there. I mean, Justin Fields already has 1,000 rushing yards on the season, and there's 3 games left in the regular season. Look, this is a Bears team that obviously their record sucks. A lot of the players, will be on other teams or are looking for other things. The Bills need to be able, though, to be cognizant of the fact that Fields will be that guy. And that was literally all the all the other reporters, in terms of questions about the Bears, it was Justin Fields and how do you stop them. It was also, too, how do you not overlook this game a little bit? Because there could be, you don't believe in trap games.
No, but I have the answer. Finish your question. How do you not overlook this team, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
that was
I didn't know if there was a second part of the question. Somebody asked me that on the radio, and they brought up the Jacksonville game.
It's so different, though, I feel like.
I think it's we talk about how they're going to pull from the New England windy game.
Yeah.
I think you pull from Jacksonville and go, that was a beep team
Yeah.
that was absolutely dead, had nothing to play for, and you went in there lackadaisically. You can also look at the Texans taking the Chiefs to overtime. Like,
Yeah.
you can look around, or the Colts being up 33-0. Sean said, like, there is no lead and no record that matters.
Yeah.
And you need to continue to play hard. So I think I am one of those guys that I never call them trap games. I
Let down spot.
or look ahead. You can't be looking ahead to Cincinnati and
Yeah.
being like, we're just going to brush through Chicago. And Sean said that 3 different times in his press conference of, we're focused on the Bears. We're focused on the Bears. And I think that's a big test.
I think it's so different than Jacksonville, though, as well, because Jacksonville was in November. Like, now, right now, you're the top team in the AFC.
Yeah,
You're
you'd
the
hope
top
the Bears not
team
a look
in the
ahead spot here.
Exactly.
In December.
Because
Yep.
of how much is at stake and how important it is to win every game because, you're hanging on, but that's the thing. It's not a comfortable lead in the AFC. You have the Chiefs right behind you and then the Bengals right behind them. So that is something to look forward to in terms of just making sure that this team is prepared. Sean McDermott, though, we know he's a serious guy, man.
Scary at times.
He joked a little bit at his press
I
conference.
tried to get him on the cold. I said, we talk about how the players, how they stay warm, what they
Yeah.
do. What do you do? And he goes, well, Jeff Mazurek, shout out to their equipment guy, puts everything in my locker and I wear it out there. And we're like, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, and he goes, yeah. I go, well, about Josh Allen puts Icy Hot on his feet, or talks about
Yeah.
putting Icy Hot. He goes, well, I wouldn't want to put anything on my feet. And he goes, then I can't get. Then what if it's on there and I don't like it? It's a valid point.
That is valid.
Can't have Sean running back to the locker room in the first quarter.
He says he goes with the conservative approach, which I feel like
That's Sean's life.
I was gonna say that feels
Yeah.
like a fitting answer. All right, a couple of things to note in terms of the injury report.
Yep.
Josh Allen popped up on the report earlier on this week. He was dealing with it came up his elbow. He said it was just general soreness. He said the walkthrough was on Tuesday and he feels a lot better having some rest. Jordan Poyer did not practice with a knee injury, and he said he still plans on practicing.
Mitch Morse, Boogie Basham still
Yeah.
remained out. Obviously, we know Mitch is in the concussion protocol. Boogie's dealing with a calf. Encouraging to see Poyer at least talk to the media today. That's usually an encouraging sign.
He says he expects to play.
Yeah, so, and I would expect him to as well. Another guy we continue to see ramp up is Coach Micah Hyde. We talked about in the podcast. If you haven't on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, gone back and listened to that because we both gave our prediction on whether or not
Yeah.
we think Micah will return. I was a 6 out of 10. Jenna, you were a 5 out of 10, and he has that look. Not a doctor. Said it before, say it again. Not a doctor. But I will say he looks like a guy that is gearing up for something at the end of the season. He doesn't look like a guy that's just trying to stay in shape.
I agree. I was middle of the road. Yeah, you're Mike though, right? It's been a long week. I don't know what day it is. But that being said, you're right. I agree with you. Again, I am also not a doctor.
Yeah.
But just the way he looked on the sidelines, how I don't know what the word is, but he seemed like a guy that was preparing.
Yes, he wasn't just going through the motions.
Yes.
He wasn't just running up and down the sidelines for laughs and giggles.
Yes.
There was a purpose to it.
Purpose, intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one last thing I'll point out, we did get to speak to Kyer Elam after practice
Yeah.
today. Thought that was very interesting. He talked about how he's gone through. I asked him if it was a humbling experience. He goes, well, I'm always humbled. He goes, I don't
Yeah.
think that changed, which valid answer. And
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
mean it as a knock that he's not humble, but just the sense of struggling, injuries, being benched. And he said that he actually called it a blessing in disguise, possibly, the fact that he got to be on the sidelines, see how the calls came in. And he said, Jenna, that he feels like at times before he was trying to be too perfect.
Yeah.
And that it was making him play slow. So he wants to play faster and not worry about being perfect, which I think is great for a young player to learn. It's the NFL. And Mike made a good point. We were talking about it one day, and I go, oh, the defense was terrible and all these things. And he goes, yeah, but they still made plays.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Dolphins have weapons on offense. So you're not
yes.
going to shut out every NFL team, no
Yeah.
matter how good you play on defense.
Yeah, and Kyer had a good game. Of course, Tyreek had some nice catches, but he is incredibly
He had
talented
catches
and
on
gifted.
Trey, and Trey played well.
Exactly. I think that is so huge because I can imagine coming in, the pressure of being, your team's first round pick. You want to excel. Your team wants you to excel. But I really think that is important for him to have some grace because it's not always perfect.
Yep.
And let's be real. The other guys on the other side of the field are extremely talented as well.
They get paid too.
They do get paid too. I walked myself into that one. Not really pleased about that. But at the same point, I think there was a lot of momentum for Kyer to have.
Yep.
And moving forward, I think he will carry that confidence. And that's kind of the impression you got. He also talked about learning a ton, being on the sidelines, seeing how calls come in, seeing the down and distance, and what that does for him now on the field. So We've seen McDermott, bench younger players before, and it's worked out and been successful. This could be possibly a similar case.
It happened to Ed Oliver in 2019. He lost a lot of his snaps. I will also say it was a difference because it was an injury, but Josh Allen talked about how much he learned his rookie year when he had the elbow injury, and he sat for 4 games.
Yeah.
Sometimes we expect all of these rookies, first-round picks, to come in and make an immediate impact, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it takes an acclimation period, and let's be real, it's the NFL.
It's the NFL.
Okay.
Stay warm.
Yeah, it's going to be chilly out there. All right, thank you for joining
Wish
us.
it was colder.
I wish it was. Yeah. All right, for not Mike, I'm Jenna. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus. Like, comment, subscribe. Merry holidays.